agencies do. Perhaps also here in Ecuador, I would think. Maybe this is not so different around the world. So it led to a big increase in NASA's budget, and it led to the formation of the NASA Astrobiology Institute. Now, what this event precipitated was a recognition on the part of both the scientific community and the political community in the United States that there were many areas of science that had matured during the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, 1990s. And they had reached, by the middle of the 1990s, a state of maturity that they were now ready to be brought together to pursue these very interesting and fundamental questions. So let me tell you about those 4 areas of science. The first of those areas is our understanding of the diversity of life on Earth. If you were studying biology a few decades ago and were learning about the diversity of life on Earth, you would learn about the 5 kingdoms of life: Monera, simple single-celled organisms without organelles, without cell nuclei; protists, single-celled organisms that are larger and more complex, that do have organelles and do have the DNA in a cell nucleus; and then the so-called crown kingdoms of fungi, animals, and plants. Now, this tree of life is based on the morphology of these organisms, that is, their structure, what they look like, and also how they reproduce. But in more modern times, we have the ability now to actually manipulate and measure and characterize the genetic material in cells, which was not a capability that was available at the time that this 5-kingdom picture was developed. And when one takes a look at the genetic material of cells, one finds that there is much, much more diversity of life than had been previously recognized. So this is a tree of life based on genetic information. And it turns out, for example, that this kingdom Monera, which were thought of as sort of the base kingdom and very simple life and not too important in some sense, it turns out to be 2 completely separate domains of life, one that we call bacteria today and one that we call archaea. And these 2 domains of life have a tremendous amount of genetic diversity. So there is much of the genetic diversity of life is all incorporated within this one area of the 5 kingdoms. The protists are most of the rest of this part of the tree of life, the branch that we call eukarya, and these so-called crown